Hello, Daryl here. The channel is Programming in Any Language. The supporting website is programminginanylanguage.com or black-duck.com. They both take you to the same place. That's a place where you'll find the videos and PDFs of the code. Video is properties. In the last video, you saw how to construct a class and where everything goes in that class. The important thing about classes is they are containers for data. And that data is in the form of properties. This video shows you how to set up those properties and how to give access to those programs that use those properties. One thing you'll notice is that suddenly there are different ways to set up classes, shorthand versions. You'll probably want to use shorthand versions in your code. But it was impractical to use them initially because they hide some of the workings of the class. I need to learn what the class, how the class is built and all those little parts that are in there. You need to know all those workings. So, you'll see several examples of the same class coded in different ways in this video. I would tend to use the classic version until you are thoroughly familiar with it. Then shorthand versions can be used. With that, let's not delay this any further. Here are the classes. A property is a class member that holds a piece of data about an object. We've seen these many times when we work with labels, text boxes, buttons, whatever. There's all kinds of properties you can set on these things. You can change the font, you can change the color, you can change the size, and all those things. The same is true with any type of class you build on your own. And that's what we're going to take a look at properties today. And we're going to see how we can protect our data by only allowing a door to go in and a door to come out for these properties. You won't be able to set them any other way, just like you do in the real life with labels, buttons, and so on down the line. You need to actually directly access them. So, welcome to properties. We're going to take a look at that today. A property is a class member that holds a piece of data about an object. Properties can be implemented as special methods that set and get the value of corresponding fields. Get the word get and set. You're going to be seeing a lot of that as you go forward. In fact, properties and the class themselves we're going to see very complex from what we saw in the last video. And we're going to be able to reduce that down to something very, very simple. But you need to understand all the pieces that are in there before you get to this simple version of it all. In code, there's a private field, which is known as a backing field that is used to hold any data assigned to the property. The value parameter of a set accessor is automatically created by the compiler. Those are the rules. Those are the things we're going to be looking at. You may not understand what all that means right now. That's what the purpose of this video is going to be. We're going to start describing this and show you how this all works. I kind of drew this to give you an idea of what a class might look like when you're dealing with classes in your program. The circle represents a closed form or a closed container that doesn't allow anything else to get in there except through the doorways. And that's what the red arrows represent here. We can go in and we can go out. We have a bunch of different things on here. We've got a backing field up here. We've got a constructor. We're not looking at actually what the constructor looks like, but this is giving you an idea that we're putting Ranger Bob. And when we create this particular class pet property, Ranger Bob is going to get in string name. And so string name is going to be the backing field. And that's what's going to contain that data in there. If we want to make a change to it, we can set it by using the set accessor, and that allows you to take this value property that's put in there and I'll to put in there. It means outside the program you can get at this data and actually apply it to here. Once you've made a change or a set to this, it automatically updates the private area right up here, string name. So you can change it from Ranger Bob to Ranger Smith or Ranger Dan. There's also a get accessor, which allows you to get the data that's sitting inside your string or inside your property, inside your value. And you can return it through string name this way, and it grabs that, and whatever's in there comes out the door this way. So in and out are the only ways you're going to be able to get at this data. And remember, you can have multiple ones of these things in any particular class object. The name property consists of this right in here, the get accessor and the set accessor. And the current name is a method that can get at these things. We'll take a look at each of these things in detail right now. If you look at the class pet, this whole idea, if we look at it in the way we do this thing in code, it's going to look like this. We have our backing field, string name, private. We've got private pet, str name equals Ranger Bob. There's your constructor, and this is how it actually, when we actually invoke the class pet in our program, Ranger Bob is put into string name. We could put nulls here. That's fine too, or something else entirely. But this is what it'll get when you first start the program. And here's the name property. And here's the get accessor and the set accessor. You see a get here, return str name, a set str name equals a value. So outside the program, you can access the name and give it a value, and that'll pop something into the backing field. If you want to retrieve it from outside the program, you retrieve the name, string name from here, and you get what's in here gets returned to your program, so you can actually use it in your program code. And here's that method. One of many methods that you could have inside your class. In this case, it's called current name, and it's nothing more than a message box that shows the current value of string name up here. And you can call this current name property from outside your program, it's outside the class here, and make it all work. Breaking it down further, if you look at that string name, the private backing field is a variable that stores the value assigned to the property which the backing field is associated with. It is declared to be private to protect it from accidental corruption. So nothing can change it except something internal to the program. If a backing field is public, it can then be accessible directly by code outside the class without the need for accessors. We don't want that. We don't want to bother having classes if you have that. We want to protect our data. When the class is instantiated, the field will be initialized to their values listed in the declaration statement. So here's your constructor right here. And this is going to actually create this. So if something's in here, it's going to get instantiated to this. So string name will have Ranger Bob in it. The constructor will execute assigning its value to the fields. If there's nothing in this area right here, you'll get nulls. Or you'll get a 0 if it happens to be a numeric value. You don't have to be string values. They can be any data type you want here. Each property in the class has a name as well as an access specifier and a data type. Here's the name. This name has then the access of get and set, which are going to be, we'll look at in detail in a second here. This is specified in the beginning of the property declaration. There can be multiple properties in a class. So you can have the name, you can also have the address or the telephone number, all within the same thing. Say you had instead of a class pet, we had class customer. We could have multiple things with that customer in there. The name, address, city, state, zip, all that thing could be contained in there, much like we do with a struct back in our anything database. Within that property declaration, we have the get and the set. The get returns a value. The get accessor is a method that returns the property's value. Each property has a get accessor which is used to return property values. The get accessor is executed anytime the property is read. So you can get at it from the name and pull it from your outside program. We also have the set accessor. It's a method that sets the property to a value. The purpose of a set accessor is to set the property to a value. The value parameter is automatically created by the compiler, and its data type is the same as that of the property. So you can have, here we have a string in this case, but we could easily have an integer or a double, whatever. A read-only property will not have a set accessor as the property value will never change. So if you're going to create a read-only class, so there's the string name, let's say it's read-only, we wouldn't have a set. We'd leave that out, so you couldn't make a change to it. Any number of methods can be written within the class. Methods internal to the class have full access to the properties. There's a typical method coded within the class and accessible by the name. So current name is something you could access from your program, and it would bring back and grab what's in string name here and display it in your program. If you need to create a read-only property, for example, string name up here being read-only, we place read-only right here after the private area. And then we leave out the set value, as you can see. A read-only property can be read but cannot be modified. To set a read-only property, we use the read-only keyword in the declaration of the backing field, and we do not write a set accessor down here. Now this is where it gets a little different. We start to, we had a lot of code. We created something like this on the right-hand side of the screen, as you can see here. With auto properties, a property can get and set the value of a backing field without performing any other operation. Auto properties simplify the code for such a property. So we're looking at something like this. Class pet, public str name is our backing field. We have the words get and set here. And we have the method here, current name, which will return that. This is actually equivalent to this over here, with one exception. And here we're specifying Ranger Bob. Here we don't see that in here at all. So you'd actually be creating a null in string name. Nothing can be there until you use the get and set parameters. But basically it's equivalent to this. Much less code, much easier to write. There's another version of it. Public string str name get set The backing field is right here, and it's equivalent to this. Again, we have the method here. We just have one single line here. String, get, and get and set are included in this particular piece on one line. And it's equivalent to this, again, without the Ranger Bob piece. This would be null if we were making this actually completely equivalent to this thing. And I'll show you examples of this in a bit. To leave out the set keyword in an auto property, the auto property becomes read only. So notice right here, we're getting rid of the set here. So public string name, get. This time we are including Ranger Bob in there. So we're actually making it Ranger Bob, but we're not allowing you to set it or make a change to Ranger Bob. However, you can get it. So being able to get the value and pull it into your program, you'll be able to get and see Ranger Bob. The method, again, is unchanged. Rather than write these programs, I'm going to kind of show you what we've got in here. And in this case, we've got our form and our pet class sitting here external to the program, and then our form design, which we're looking at right now. It has current name button. It has a label here, and it has a set, or actually it has a text box here, and then a set name button sitting over here. So we can bring up the current name by pressing this button, and we can put something in here and set it to something new in here. You'll see that in a moment here. And we'll look at the code very quickly in here. If we look at the form itself, the form code, it's relatively short. We have a class myPet, new pet is coming in, so we're bringing that into the global area. Our current name button is sitting right here. And what it's doing is simply grabbing the current name using that method we saw in our class, which you can see right here is our current name class. And it's displaying it. So that's what button current name does. The text field that we see in the program right in here has a text change method. So you put something in there, it turns the button set name and enables it. So you can actually use that. Then the button set name is sitting right in here. What does it do? It grabs us in that text field and it enables the button set button defaults, turns it off again, and then it clears out the text box completely. But it does do this piece right here. It sets the name in the text box. And we have an exit, of course, down here. How does it work? Let's take a look. This is our current name field. If we click on it, we can see, oh, Ranger Bob's in there, sitting in there. Oh, okay, great. In fact, let's go ahead and bring our class up so we can kind of see this. So if we click on this again, we have Ranger Bob popping up here. What's it doing? It's showing us, showing us the value of the backing field, which we has established in the constructor as Ranger Bob. Now, if we go and type something else in here, like Ranger Dan, and then set it, that clears that field again. And we now have something different in the backing field. If we want to see what that is, we use our method here, current name, and up pops the Ranger Dan. Let's bring what's in the backing field now is Ranger Dan and bringing that in. So that's how this thing works. We have an external class, and we've got the program code sitting right in here, which just does that work. We're going to look at a couple of different examples. We're going to modify this a little bit, so as we can see based on our text we saw a little while ago. In the case of this one, we're changing the class to be public string name get and set. So we're not adding anything into the string name. So our constructor is going to put in nulls in there. We have a get and set. We'll still be able to access the property. And you'll see this program will work very, very similar to the one we saw before. Here's our class again, our current name, our text in, our button set name, and the exit button all sitting here. No difference here at all in what we actually did, but there is a difference in the class itself. So if we run this thing, and the form looks like this, same thing. So if we run it again, and we do the current name piece, nothing's in current name. Nothing was actually created during the constructor. However, we can still put in Ranger Dan. And set it using that set parameter. And now we will go ahead and clear it. Ranger Dan pops up. Our method here is grabbing what's in the backing field, which is str name. So this simplified form of the class allows you to put things in there and then still get them out. Again, things are the same here, and our form is the same. No changes made here. But our pet class, get set, public current name, backing field. We run it, nothing's there. Enter Ranger Dan. And now bring up our current name, Ranger Dan. This next version has a constructor in place. It actually puts Ranger Bob into the string name, and we still have her getting set here. Otherwise, it's virtually the same with this one exception here. Again, our form is the same. There's no differences here. Our design is the same. We're looking at the pet class. We'll run this one. So we instantiated the object. And if we press current name, we find Ranger Bob is indeed in there. But now we're able to make a change to Ranger Dan. We'll set it. And we've changed the backing field to Ranger Dan. So this concept is different from the standpoint that we are actually putting the Ranger Bob in there with the equal sign. It's a very nice and simplified way to create the class there. And again, you have your methods underneath. In this case, we're using a read-only class. We don't have read-only putting in here, but if you notice, there's no set in here. Well, we are still putting Ranger Bob into the class itself. We're instantiating it. One thing you're going to see, though, if I try to run this thing, we're going to get an error. We've got an error right now, and why? Well, if we don't want to run it, we've got a property or index of pet string m cannot be assigned to a value. It's read-only. It's telling us that it's read-only. That's in line 33. If we look at our program in 33, we can see right here, oh, indeed, there was an error in 33. We cannot have this myPet and try to bring something in from the class because the set won't work. We can close this off by getting rid of that, gets rid of our error, and our program will now work. Look at our current name. It's Ranger Bob. We cannot set it. We can't make any changes to it. We can put something in here, Ranger Dan. And the form still works, but if we try to reveal it, it's still Ranger Bob. There's nothing in here. And you can see what we did here is we took the set name and we got rid of the piece that actually reads from the text file and puts it in there. We simply are working with the button and the text box, clearing it out whenever we do this. We're not really doing anything with the data that goes in here. So that's we had to do that in order to make our program work because it's a read-only property. We can't put things into a class or an object that is read-only. In this case, we have the full class set up as we normally do. This time we removed the set from here and left it be the way it is. We have a constructor creating Ranger Bob and the method sitting down here. And so this will work the same. I think our form is exactly the same as it has been. We have an error here again, though, as you can see, because we're dealing with a read-only property, and our program is expecting to be able to take a text box and put it into the class. Not going to work. So this thing is going to error out. And it does. And again, we have this is line 33 once again. If we go to line 33, we can see it right there as our error. We'll go ahead and comment this out again, allowing us to enable the button and set our text box to null, clear it off, but it won't do anything with the data that's actually in there. Go to our pet class again, do a run on this thing, and as you can see, it is now working. We can get our current name out, and Ranger Bob is sitting out there. We can go ahead and type in something else, a bunch of D's here, set them, but nothing's going to happen. It's still going to be Ranger Bob. And that's the extent of it. I want to show you one more example where I've created a number of different classes to make this thing work. And you can see how they'll work inside a program. I've got an application that's going to look something like this. It's going to have a cat, dog, hobby, bird, and turtle's name is, and it's got them sitting in here. And we'll be able to change the properties here in most cases. Let's take a look at this. If we look at the form design, we've got a number of buttons down here where we can change dog, cat, hobby, bird, and turtle by placing something in the text boxes up in here. Here's our labels, and here was just simply the labels telling us what it is we're looking at. And let's take a look at the classes. Notice there's a hobby class, a pet class, an animal class, and our form. What does our form look like? Our form looks like this. It's basically going to be able to it's going to create a my dog class out of the pet class and a my cat class out of the pet class. So we're creating two different instances of the pet class called my dog and my cat. We're also creating a my hobby out of the hobby class. And we're creating my bird and my turtle out of the animal class. So we're using 3 classes and creating 5 instances. And we're then initializing in the form load that my dog name will be Woofy, my cat name will be Garbage, bird's name will be McTavish, turtle will be Godzilla, and we don't have anything on the hobby, as you can see, but we do put labels out there send them all out. What do these classes look like? Let's look at the hobby class first. The hobby class has a constructor which is going to set it to old time radio. We got the hobby name underscore text, constructor, and then we're going to be able to return. So it's got a get. It does not have a set, notice. And there's no methods in here either. So it just says a get. So it's simply a read-only property. Our pet class, again, has a name field. It does not have any constructor naming it. It's setting it to null as you go in there, but it does have a get and a set. So we're able to make changes to the field property up here. Same thing with the animal class. But it's actually a shortened version of it. Rather than looking at the pet class, we made the animal class, which is virtually identical to the pet class, except we did it in shorthand by saying public name get set. So it has a get and set property. And again, the name property will be null when we go into there. So let's kind of run it, see what happens here. If we look at our form, and it comes up looking like this. It has installed all of these things based on what the form load is. Put all those pieces in here. So we have garbage, woofy, old time radio is in here because that's in the class. It was instantiated that as a read-only property. McTavish and Godzilla. I make changes to all these things. Let's put Ranger Bob in for that dog name. And let's change the cat to Kenneth. Change our hobby to guitar. And try to spell it right. Change our bird to Tweety. And change our turtle to Shelly. Now, if we go ahead and try to do this, I take change dog, click on it, and Ranger Bob pops in here. Change the cat, Kenneth pops in there. Change the hobby, nothing happens there. Again, remember, this is a read-only property, so we can't get at it. We can't actually access it or make a change to it. Okay? How about Tweety? We can change the bird without any problem, and we can change the turtle to Godzilla, and all that takes place. All based on this code right here. Here's our buttons right here to make the change. And you can see they have the example of the read-only property. We're not having all the other cases we're taking the text field and using the class myCatName is equal to textCat.text. But we can't do that to the button change out. We'd have an error here if we try to do it because that method or that class is set up as a read-only property. There's no set here at all. So what you've seen here so far is you've seen how we can take a class represented by the circle here and use these doorways, the set and the get, to put things into the backing field or pull things out of the backing field. If you don't have a set accessor, it's a read-only property. That's it. So you simply can read the data that's in there and not make changes to it. So that is basically properties in a nutshell. You now have a pretty good feel for how classes are set up and how to instantiate objects. The next obvious step would be to use them in more practical examples. And that's what we'll do next. Thanks for watching. Visit the website when you get a chance. And please subscribe to the channel. There's more stuff coming every week. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.